It's with great pleasure that I enter in your house today. We are back to the moment of the teaching, and the number of the teaching is the number 3. And the title is The Quran is false, but the Torah is the true one. So that is what I'm going to prove today. So again, I am happy to greet all of you. Okay, let me adjust my clothes. Yeah, this is something that I have to do at the beginning of the teaching so that your eyes are not bothered. Your eyes and your, what else? Is there another things than eyes? Okay, Yahushua bless you all. It's the Amazon of Yahushua Elia who enters in your house now. So it's the teaching number 3 that you are following. Okay, let's go. Elia is going to explain that the Quran is false, but the Torah is absolutely true. So why we chose this title? Why I chose this title? Because the book of Quran criticize and blame the truth of the Torah. They say that it is wrong, it is being changed, and so on and so forth. But that is what Elia is going to bring. That are all wrong. So let's say that what they have said is true. So why they should wrote that wrong thing in their book, the Quran? That is not logical at all. So how can you write something wrong in your book? Doesn't that mean that the Quran is false? False double times, because you have wrote something wrong. And if you say we got the truth, so show that truth. But the Sefer Torah is always a Sefer Torah, and there is nothing like wrong or true, but it's only one. And Elia has one. That's why I am saying that. So that is something that I have to tell you that first. And having the Torah, the result is people who follow the book of Torah of beloved YAHVAH never sin anymore. They never sin anymore. They don't know how to do bad things anymore. They don't know how to sin anymore. So that is the most wonderful thing with that true God. They become people who never sin anymore, which Quran is not able to do. But the book of the God of Abraham, the Torah, it's only that. Who can do that? Because it's in there that who point out YAHOSHUAH, the son of Mary, and those who follow YAHOSHUAH, the son of Mary, never sin anymore, and they are washed away from their sins. They don't know how to commit sin anymore. And that is the program of the God of Abraham. So that people never sin anymore. So that people don't know how to sin anymore, and they are saved completely, because it's that sin which made the face of the God of Abraham hidden. Whether you are Christian, fake Christian, or Muslims, whoever you were, as long as you are sinners, you cannot get along with that God of Abraham. That is the true one. That is the truth. So that is the first introduction. If it is something that wrong according to you, Muslim, why do you write it in your Quran? It is something that has mistakes, so how can you write it there? So you are now has 2 mistakes. But now Elia is arrived here to prove that there is nothing wrong in the Torah, but yours is false. Okay, let's carry on. We're not going to talk about the details like mistakes in words, but we're going to come into that. But there is no words, no mistakes in the words. But that is the thing that Elia is going to explain, the truth of the words and the fulfillment of the words in the book of Torah, the Sefer Torah of the Jews. Let's start it from the story of Abraham and to the end of the story of Abraham. And who has got the agreement? Who has received the agreement? And their children. I'm going to explain that to you first, and after I give you the chapter and verse in the Torah. I'm going to give you first a chapter and verse in the Torah to tell you that there is no mistakes in there, but it's in harmony. because Muslims say this it's false because they want to talk about Ismail. They want to say that Ismail is the ancestors of all Arabs, and when they are pulling that Ismail thing, they started to blame the Torah, and they say it's the Quran which is the true one because Ismail came from that, and Ismail is the chosen one, not Isaac, and that's why they blame the Torah and they value the Quran by saying this is the this is the absolute truth. But you haven't heard about the story, that story, except in the Torah of Jews, and you cannot deny that. So if the Torah of Jews, where you find that true story, how can you just blame like the Torah is false? And that's why I say if the Torah is false, you should not take, you should not have take something wrong. And if you say you got the true one, show the true one. But Elia has the true one. If you have got the Torah, you should have been washed away from your sin and you never sin anymore. However, that doesn't exist in you, in Quran. Even the Quran said you cannot make someone, you cannot make anyone righteous, and there is no one who were washed away from their sins except those who follow YAHOSHUAH, the son of Mary. Okay, let's get to the true story to prove that you cannot deny the truth of the Torah. So it's as follows. So let me begin to tell it. So listen to you, all humans, listen to this story, you humans who were listening to the teaching of Elia. So when the story takes its end, we're going to get back and give you the chapters and verse. Look at the truthness of this word, because it's a word which is matching and in harmony, and you cannot deny what is in the Torah. First of all, the story of Abraham. He started in Ur in French, and Ur for English. So Ur of Chaldea. Ur of Chaldea. It's in that village Ur that he left. So it's in Babylon. I will show you the picture after, and in Babylon. And when he left there with his father, I have to notice that his family are idolaters. That means they are not righteous people. Even Abraham was an idolater, because even his father Terah was an idolater. And when they left, they get to Haran. It's a place called Haran, and that is in Turkey. That is in Turkey. And when his father brought him to Haran, because they are wandering, and God showed himself to Abraham and said to him, go to the place where I bring you, because I'm going to make you great. I'm going to make your children blessed, a blessing for all the nations. So it's in that place Haran that Abraham talked to the God. And Abraham went and he reached to the Canaan land. And when he reached there, Father YAHVAH showed him that Canaan, and Father YAHVAH said, I have given this place to you and to your children. Yeah, there was no precision at that time. Which children? Because Abraham gave birth to two sons. One is Isaac and one is Ismail. He hasn't got children yet. That declaration has been given to him. And after they went to Egypt, because there was a terrible famine and there is nothing that they can eat. But in Egypt they can find something to eat. So Abraham went to Egypt, and he found Hagar there, because he went there in Egypt. And when the famine has gone away, Abraham went back to Canaan. And when he went back there, he dwelled in Hebron, in a place called Hebron. So that it's where he end his trip. So when that story that that I have told you was finished, God said, "It's through your children that all the blessing for all nations will come." But he hasn't got children yet at that time. So he was like, "Who will receive that blessing? However, I am already old." And Sarah took Hagar at that time, and she said, "Because we cannot have children, and we got a slave woman, so have children, have a child with her, and when you got child from her, is going to inherit." So Abraham asked God, "Let Ismael be alive in you to get that inheritance, as you have told me that it's through my children that all the blessing will come up." So Father YAHVAH said, "No, your son Ismael is not going to inherit, but it's through your son, your own son, Isaac, that all the blessing for all the nations will come from." So that is a conversation between God and Abraham. So when time has come, Isaac was born. Yeah, because Ismael was already born before. And it's Isaac that God. Okay, wait. Yeah, wait. As Isaac grew up, so there was a like circumcision and things, and Sarah was really angry because Ismael loved Isaac with that preparation. So Sarah was angry, and she said, "Kick this slave woman and her son out, because the son of this slave woman cannot inherit with my son." And Abraham was so sad hearing that word. However, God said to Abraham, "Obey to what Sarah said, because it's only in Isaac, it's only the children through Isaac that my my agreement goes through." And that's how Abraham kicked out Hagar and Ismail. And when they wander, they get to Beersheba, and that is a desert, and they were lost in the desert. But God saved them, and He gave food, water in this desert. So in this Beersheba, it is below-ish of the Canaan land. So the story goes on. I'm going to give you the words of them. So they went to Parana, and that Parana also it's near, but that is below-ish the Canaan. That is also a desert. So they dwell there, and Hagar and Ismail dwell in. And then the children of Ismail, they dwell in the place between Shur and Havilah. Havilah it's above, it's in the northwest. I mean, it's northeast from Israel. And the Shur is next to Egypt. I'm going to give you the picture. And that is how the story went through Isaac. And when the time has come when Ismael was not there anymore because Sarah has kicked him out, so it's when there is no Ismael anymore that God has brought Isaac in a mountain to test Abraham. Okay, kill your son if you like me. So it's logical that God did that because he wants to make sure, as Abraham was an idolater, if he dares. So the God of Abraham saw that he really loves Isaac, and he didn't let him kill his son, but replace him to a sheep. And God said, because you haven't protected your son, your only son. Yes, God has said only son. So he considered Isaac as an only son. And it's through Isaac that I will bless all the nations. But God said, you have to know that your children will go and will be slave in another nation. But remember that when they come back, they will bring lots of wealth. That is what God said. So what happened when that declaration has been made to Isaac? Yeah, Isaac died. He had two sons, Esau and Jacob. Esau is the elder one and Jacob is the younger one. And God said, I don't need Esau, but I like Jacob. I hate Esau, but I like Jacob. That's what God of Abraham said. And Jacob has received the choice. And after, the children of Jacob is called Israel, and he gave birth to 12 children, where there was Levi and Judah. Moshe came from Levi, and Yahushua came from Judah, the son of David. A covenant for all people around the world to take away their sins. So that is how the story went. But after, when time has passed, there was another famine, terrible famine in the Canaan. Yeah, it happens in all the nations. But the children of Jacob went to Egypt. Jacob is Israel. When he has a fight with the angels of God, his name becomes Israel. So it's they who went to Egypt because of the famine which hit the land. So it's only in Egypt that they can shelter. So they all went to Egypt with Jacob and with his 12 sons and his wife. So they dwell there, and at the end, they were slaves. And the story continues. You see, it is a following up story. So where is the mistake? So when time has come, because they have been enslaved for 400 years, so the words of God were fulfilled. It's the children of Isaac through Jacob who were enslaved 400 years. And when 400 years have gone, God remembered these children of Israel, which he said, it's through your children that I will bless these nations. So Moshe, he sent Moshe to get these children of Israel out of Egypt. And that's what happens, that you cannot deny. And that is in the Quran. You say that it's really the children of Israel that he brought out of Egypt. So you cannot deny that it's Israelites who were enslaved in Egypt. And they came out successfully, and they get to Canaan when they have win against those who dwell in the Canaan land. Because when they get back, there are already lots of people who dwell in the Canaan land. But there are places that they can dwell in Hebron, but they fought against those who already dwell in the Canaan, and they have win against them during the Joshua's era. And Joshua shared the land. Joshua is the soldier of Moshe. So that's how the story went. So here we can see that the God of Abraham said, the Canaan land belongs to Israel, and it's Israel who possess it. No one can have it. What happens is, we can see at the moment we speak, it's because of Muslims, the Quran, who said it. They pull that, and it's as they say, it's Ismail who were about to be sacrificed and it's all about Ismail. Let me notice Ismail is not Arab, but Ismail is Chaldean, is Babylonian. We know that the state of Babylonian is so strong at that time, where we can find Nebuchadnezzar. They have their own civilization, and it's the children of Ismail, because the children of Abraham is Chaldean, and his mother is Egyptian. So Babylonian, Chaldean, and Egyptian. So there is nothing near Egypt and pass through Assyria. It's a little bit above. So they reach to Havilah, near to Turkey. So that's how Ismail's story went. He didn't get down to Arabs' territory. However, Quran took that and they say that it's Ismail who is the ancestor of Arabs. And they just have pulled that and they were like, the Canaan land belongs to them, not anyone else. Okay, so because the children of Israel went back to Israel and everyone there were losing against them. So it's obvious it's the children of Israel who choose to inherit Israel. So in the side of Ismail, they are wrong by saying that the Canaan land belongs to them. So Canaan is with Cisjordania, Lebanon, Syria, and all around. So that's what happens at the moment. Who fight against children of Israel, and they are not happy towards Israel, children of Israel. So around Israel, they're all Muslim. Okay, let's continue the story. However, when there is a great mistake that children of Israel did, they have worshipped idols. They have worshipped Baal, and Father YAHVAH was really angry, and Father YAHVAH, scattered them around the world. So he sent Nebuchadnezzar to destroy Israel, and Israel was completely destroyed, and they were captives. Lots of people attacked them, like Arabs, Greek, and Roman, and we know the story later that there was also Hitler who attacked and destroyed Jews, and so on and so forth. So Israel was really destroyed. However, later, that YAHVAH remembered his word, even though Father YAHVAH scattered them because of what they have done. Father YAHVAH said, I always remember what I say to Abraham. So Father YAHVAH has bring them back to Israel in 1822. So everyone knows about that. Those who have learned history and geography, they know that the Jews were gathered and established in their land in 1822. So the question is now, why they were brought back to their land? Because that is the words of God of Abraham, whose name is YAHVAH. And when they were brought back there, Jeremiah the prophet said, protect them like a shepherd protect their flocks. So NATO, American, has protected them when they reach Canaan. And that is what happens at the moment. And Palestinians cannot touch them. Palestinian who becomes Muslim. So Muslim cannot touch them. That's what happens. I cannot say Arab Muslim because they're not Arabs, but they become Muslim. That's what happens. People around there are Muslim, and they're Palestinians. They're also Jordanian. It's in Cisjordania. There is also Lebanon, Syria, and they are fighting against Israel. And even Egypt, they are not happy at Israel. Let's get back to the story. If children of Israel get back to their land, of course the words of God of Abraham was kept by saying, I will let this land to be possessed by your children. And American has fulfilled and justified the word in Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 10. Protect children of Israel like shepherd protect his flock. So the words of the God of Abraham is true. The question is, if the God of Abraham, YAHVAH, is the same as Allah, let me repeat it again. If the God of Abraham, YAHVAH, is Allah for Muslim, because they say that Allah is the greatest one, and in Allah that there is YAHVAH, the Almighty. So according to what they say, the God of the Arabs engulf all the gods, and even YAHVAH, the God of Abraham, is engulfed in Allah. That is what they think, but that is not the truth. So according to them, if people call YAHVAH, it means Allah. But if Allah is YAHVAH, why do Arabs fight against Israel when they get back to their land? Why Muslims fight against Israel, children of Israel? But they fight one another because Allah and YAHVAH cannot get along, so they're not agreeing each other. So if these two descendants, children of Israel and Arabs, has only one God, I will explain after that. Ismail is not Arab. Those who say that are wrong. If we say that these two descendants have one God, the same God, the God of Ismail, that you think is Arab, but that is not the truth. But the God of Arab, who gave the Quran, if the God of Arabs is the same as the God of Jews, YAHVAH, Muslim and Israeli should not fight each other because they're worshiping one God. So why do they fight each other? But they're fighting each other until now and non-stop. Israeli and Muslims, Arabs. That means that the God who brought the children of Israel are different from the God of Arabs. They are completely different. But you Muslims forced it to be the same because you have stolen the story, the teaching in the Sefer Torah, because you want to be the descendants of Ismail. So that is how it ended up. So answer the question: if Allah, God of Quran, and YAHVAH, God in Torah, are the same, if they are the same, why do you fight? Why don't you accept that the land of Canaan is yours? That's why you were fighting against Israeli. But Israeli, children of Israel, they are fear by protecting their land. Whoever touched their land, they're hit. They hit. I am not protecting them, but they have despised Father YAHVAH. If they haven't despised Father YAHVAH, maybe something else has happened. But okay, that is the story and the truth of the words to prove to you that the Quran is false. And that is different, completely different from the Torah, because they're fighting each other. However, beloved, YAHVAH brought the children of Israel to the Canaan. So if that YAHVAH is the same as Allah, why Father YAHVAH fight against Allah? Allah, the God of Arab, Muslim, why do they fight? They fight because Allah is not the same as YAHVAH. They're not equal. But Allah is the God of Arabs in the Quran, which is already false and fake. But YAHVAH is the God of the Jews, who justifies his word until now. The Canaan land belongs to them. So it's obvious Allah is false. Allah is fake. But YAHVAH is true. Because it's about swindling. It's just swindling the words of the God of Abraham. It doesn't match with what they said, which is in the Quran. You see, if the God of Abraham and the God of the Quran is the same, they should not fight, because you cannot deny what is inside of the Torah, because it is said the word is made for the descendants of Abraham. So if he put Azrael there, so they should not fight, but they fight because the God of Muslim is not YAHVAH but Allah, and YAHVAH is the God of Azrael, and they cannot accept because this land belongs to them, and Arabs cannot deny that until now. That is the proof that YAHVAH is the truth, and that YAHVAH is the mightiest, because they cannot fight against Israel until now. And the Quran is completely false, because what they said, like Ismail inherit Canaan, that is not logical. But and now Israel is really established, and until now. So Quran is completely false, because the words of God didn't get to the Quran, like in Arabs got the Canaan land, but the Canaan land belongs to Israel, and even Israelites get back to their land in 1822. So it's been 200 years ago. It's 200 years ago. So as conclusion, to finish the long words, it's obvious that the words of God is true. The Sefer Torah of Jews is the true one, but the Quran of Arab Muslim is false, and it's thief. And the dangerous thing is they have erased the words of God in the Torah, and they have created a new book. We're going to talk about them. And when they created that book, they ordered people not to look in this Torah, because as they say, it's an ancient book, and they should listen to the new prophet, not the old prophet. You Muslim cannot deny that. You are like, you should not listen to the Torah, because that is an ancient one, and do not listen to the elder prophet, but the prophet of Arab, you should listen. You're just forcing thing, but that is something wrong. Okay, let's follow up it with picture and with chapters and verse. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you pictures, and it's after then that you... Okay, here is the way of Abraham. The migration of Abraham, to Haran until Canaan. So it's with these red lines that he went through. Yeah, make it in a full screen, because it is cut. Okay, move it to the right, move it again. Okay, that's it. So it gets to I. So he started from Babylon, which is called Ur. So he left there and he went to Haran, and he then went to Canaan. So with this red arrow. So that is how Abraham went through this way. So when he went back, let's say, after he went to Egypt. So let's see, where is that place? So when he went back, he stayed in Bethel, in Hebron. So yeah, they are close each other. So he dwelled in Bethel. After seeing this Bethel and Ai, it's in Hebron. It's near the Black Sea, Dead Sea. So here is the Hebron that I have talked to you. So he dwelt in between Hebron and Ai, Bethel and Ai. So that is the story of Abraham during his migration. So he really reach the Canaan land, and it's the Canaan land which is given to them, to him and his descendants. So let's take a look at the Sefer Torah of the Jews. Let's read the chapter and verse from now on. So you can take down this chapter and verse to explain the true words. We're going to see that Abraham is from the Ur of Chaldea. Genesis 11:31. Genesis 11:31. So you take down when that story is clear. Yeah, it must be told as story so that you understand well the thing. Terah took his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abraham, and together they went out from Ur of the Chaldean to go to the Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. So that is what I have shown to you. So Haran is next to Turkey. So that is it. Okay. So when Abraham get to Haran, Father YAHVAH called him to get down to the place which is given to him, which is the Canaan. So let's read Genesis 12, verse 1 to 5. Genesis 12, 1 to 5. YAHVAH had said to Abraham, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation." So 1 to 5. "And I will bless you, I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." So you will be a blessing. So it's through his descendants that this world will be blessed. "I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all people on earth will be blessed through you." So that is blessing for the people around the world. So Abraham went as YAHVAH had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran. They set out for the land of Canaan. They arrived there. So they went to Canaan as the picture I've shown to you before. I think that's clear. I think that is already clear for all of you. So they went to Canaan. They reached Canaan according to what God said. "I'm going to bless you here, and it's through your descendant that I will bless all the nations." And beloved, YAHVAH said that it's the descendants of Abraham who will inherit him in this Canaan land. But there is no precision at the time which of his descendants, because he hasn't given birth yet. So we can see that in Genesis 12:8, that we can see God has given declaration that it's through your descendants that I give this land. So 12:7, YAHVAH appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to YAHVAH, who had appeared to him. So Father YAHVAH said, "This land belongs to your offspring, your descendants." So which one of the descendants of Abraham owns the land? But let's the story goes. Let's see another story. So according to what I have explained to you, after there was famines at that time, and they went to Egypt. Abraham went to Egypt. It's in Genesis 12:10 that we can find that, and it's in Egypt that they were with Hagar, and they made Hagar as their slave servant. Genesis 12:10. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. So Abraham went to Egypt, and they met Hagar, and they made Hagar as servant for both for this couple. Let's carry on. So how the story continues to explain that. Abraham came back and he dwelt between Bethel and Hai. So he went back to Israel in Bethel, between Bethel and Hai. We have shown you on the picture. So let's read that on Genesis 13, 1 to 3. Genesis chapter 13, verse 1 to 3. So Abraham went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abraham had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abraham called on the name of YAHVAH. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abraham, also had flock and herd and tent. So now it says that they went between Bethel and Ai. That is what I have told you just earlier. And at the end they went to Hebron. At the end they went to Hebron. It's in the verse 18 that we can find that. Genesis 13:18. So it's where he ended up his trip in Canaan. So Genesis 13:18. So Abraham went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tent. There he built an altar to YAHVAH. So God's words affirm that he dwelt in the Canaan land, and he sent Abraham to wander in the Canaan land to see the length and the width, looking on the eyes. But this land is yours. Yes, the land is so wide. The land where Cisjordanian, Palestinian, and Lebanon, it belongs to them. To Syria. Yeah, the land of Israel is so vast. But Muslim has seized it. When they are attacked by Muslim, yeah, they become Muslim Arabs. Yeah, when we are talking about them, it's Arabs, but it's not the case. Yeah, it's a huge topic about the Ismail. That is a huge topic. Okay, let's carry on. I have shown you the picture of Hebron. Now, who is going to possess the Canaan land? That is the question that we are going to ask. Which descendants will possess the Canaan land? You may say, I am fast. I have explained to you, and now I'm just giving you the chapter and verse. However, I am still explaining and get back to the story. So this is the one who will possess the Canaan land according to the chapter and verse. Genesis 12, 6 to 7. Abraham traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. YAHVAH appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." That's it. So the one who will be given that Canaan land is the descendants of Abraham. But which one of the descendants of his descendants? In Genesis 13:12, we're going to read that. Genesis chapter 13, verse 12. We're going to read. You may say, yeah, it keeps repeating. Yeah, that is not a problem. It's an emphasis. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tent near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against YAHVAH. So the children of Israel dwell in the land of Canaan. So we're going to see what is the words of Father YAHVAH about this land. Well, whose land is where Abraham dwelt. So Genesis chapter 13, verse 14 to 17. Abraham said to Abram after Lot has parted from him, look around from where you are to the north and south, to the east and west. So it's in Hebron. Look around from where you are to the north and the south, the east and west. All the land that you see, I will give you and your offspring forever. So, the land of Canaan is given to the offspring of Abraham. But who's going to possess this? So, let's read on verse 17. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, and I'm giving it to you. So he sent to look around, go to see the land which is given to him. So that is a promise that YAHVAH has promised to Abraham. So it is well established that this belongs to Abraham. It's so wide, from north to south, to east to west. So everything that you can see, it belongs to you. The land is so wide, so huge. Okay, let's get to another situation. The question is, who among the descendants of Abraham that he has given birth, who will possess the land? But that is the problem until now. That's why this war occurs. That's why I told you, this God, Allah and YAHVAH, are not the same. Allah is the fake God of Muslim, for Arabs. I have told you, I have proved you how he is wrong. And I have given you also the God of Abraham, which goes through Isaac and Jacob. So let's continue the words. So whose descendants will possess this? Genesis 15. We're going to read the verse 4 first. Genesis chapter 15 verse 4. Then the words of YAHVAH came to Abraham. This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. And which verse I said? So Genesis 15:7 said that it's the descendants of Abraham will take this as possession, will be his heir, not someone else. Yeah. We're going to read the verse 2. But Abraham said, Sovereign YAHVAH, what can you give me, since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abraham said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then YAHVAH said, No, he's not going to be your heir, but it's your own son who will be your heir. So, his heir, according to the words of God that we are going to read, it's Isaac. We're going to read the Sefer Torah of Jews. It's Isaac who is going to be his heir. So God has established well that it's Isaac who is going to be your heir. Genesis chapter 17, and which verse? 19, verse 19. We're going to read, and 21. Genesis chapter 17, verse 19 to 21. Then God said, Not at all, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you're going to call him Isaac. Okay, let's read from above. Verse 17. Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to him, Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael might live under your blessing. because Ishmael was already born. Then God said, "No, your wife Sarah will bear you a son." At the time, Sarah hasn't got a son yet. "And you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him." So the words of the God of Abraham is so clear here that it's in Isaac who received the covenant, and he's going to establish the covenant in the children, in the descendants of Isaac. So it's obvious that Ishmael is being kicked out here. He's being rejected. He's being kicked out here. Let's see another words about that to justify the words in Genesis chapter 21. Wait a moment. Let's add the Genesis 17:21. "But my covenant I will establish with Isaac from Sarah will bear to you by this next time year." So Sarah hasn't got a son yet, that he said, "I will give my covenant to Isaac," but no one else. So let's read that. It's in Genesis 17:18 that God has kicked out Ishmael. Genesis 17:18. "And Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing." Then God said, "No, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son." So Ishmael cannot be a heir. Father YAHVAH said, "He cannot stand before me, in front of me." So the children of Ishmael and Ismael were being kicked out by and rejected by Father YAHVAH. So in Genesis, wait a moment. Genesis, it talks about the owner of the land, the one who will possess it. Genesis chapter 21, verse 9 and 10. So here we will see that Hagar has been kicked out. Kicked this slave woman and her son out because he cannot be here with my son. And God of Abraham agreed with that. That is what the Sefer Torah said. And it's really the children of Isaac which get to the Canaan land. And there is nothing to do with Ishmael. And we can see also that those who were slaved 400 years in Egypt was the children of Isaac, not the children of Ishmael. So Genesis 21 verse 9 to 10. "But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had born to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, 'Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for her woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac.'" Yeah, Ishmael laughed at Isaac, and Sarah was angry, and she kicked them out. But Abraham was not okay with that. But immediately the God of Abraham entered in stage by saying, "Follow that word because that is the true one." So if we have listened to that story, how can we falsify something which is really in harmony? So how can we change these words which is matching and which is in harmony? But you just don't want to listen to the truth. Verse 12, "But God said to him, 'Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned.'" So that is what the words of God said by the God of Abraham. It's through Isaac will be reckoned. So we can see that God has rejected Ishmael. Let's get back. Let's get to another word. We're still analyzing all the things. Let's read the next one. And I am also repeating what I have told you earlier, and I am repeating the same thing. So that God said that Isaac is called the only son. So Ishmael is being excluded like two sons. But God said, your son Isaac, only son. Genesis chapter 22 verse 15. So here we can see, so here when Ishmael and Hagar were kicked out, God said, give me your only son, make him as a sacrifice for me. So it's when Hagar and Ishmael went away that there is this sacrifice. So Muslims with this Quran were wrong by saying that it's Ishmael that Abraham brought. That didn't exist in Torah. The Torah, which was in 2000 BCE, that doesn't exist in Torah. But the real wife is Sarah, and that is the chosen offspring. And it's through his womb that I accept, and it's Isaac. Genesis chapter 22 verse 15. The angel of YAHVAH called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, I swear by myself, declares YAHVAH, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. So it called only son. So it's only Isaac who is the only son of Abraham. So the God of Abraham, whose name is YAHVAH, has rejected and kicked out about Ishmael, and it's not in the dashboard of the God of Abraham. And according to the Sefer Torah of Jews, don't let him in. Yes, that is really clear. Let's get to another explanation, as I have given you earlier, but I'm giving it to you little by little. So God has given declaration. It's through the descendants of Isaac that all the blessing of all nations will come from. So the salvation, it's about the salvation for the people to become someone who never sin anymore. That is the meaning, so that they become righteous. So we can see that even the book, the one who wrote the book of Quran, he have asked for forgiveness. If you know the story, he was not sure yet if he will go to paradise or not. He's not sure yet if he will go to the heaven of heavens or not. You have to follow your book. But Elia, in our book, we say that we are sure 100% our way when we're with the God of Abraham. With Yahushua, the prophet, the last prophet in Jews, he sent. Okay. Let's read Genesis chapter 22 verse 18. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. Let's repeat that again. So from the verse 16 to 18. And said, I swear by myself, declares YAHVAH, that because you haven't done this and haven't protected your son, your only son, it's Isaac, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. So it's clear, the offspring is Isaac. So the offspring where the salvation come from is from Isaac, and it ends to YAHOSHUAH. The saddest thing is Muslims accept YAHOSHUAH, but after they say you must follow Arab's prophet. That is surprising. However, there is nothing to do with Arab's prophet till the end. But it's obvious the war in Israel, that is the proof that the Jews and the Arabs cannot get along. So YAHVAH and Allah cannot get along. But YAHVAH justifies his word till the end, and his word cannot be stopped till the end. And YAHVAH is not Allah. Allah is not YAHVAH. They are completely different. And the true one is the Torah, not the Quran. Yeah, we're going to get it little by little, but I always repeat that. Okay, let's carry on. We are not getting to another word. The offspring which will receive the blessing is the offspring of Isaac. Genesis chapter 26 from the verse 3 to 6. Genesis chapter 26 verse 3 to 6 to 5. Let's start from the verse 1 to 5. Genesis 26, 1 to 5. Now there was famine in the land, besides the previous famine in Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. And YAHVAH appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the star in the sky, and will give them all these lands. And through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me and did everything I required of him, keeping my commands, my decrees, and my instructions. So here it's clear that as Abraham has obeyed well to his God, YAHVAH, so that YAHVAH has kept his word, I will bless him. So here Abraham told to Isaac in Genesis 26 again, Bereshit for Sefer Torah, in Sefer Torah. So the word is really clear here that the covenant of God went to Isaac, the blessing for all the nations around the world. So it comes from the offspring of Isaac. So there is nothing to do with Ishmael or Arabs. So Arabs are excluded till the end. So Arabs cannot get into this. Like there is no word which gets to Arabs. That doesn't exist. The Torah reject that till the end. That's why I say to you, what is in Quran is not logical. There is kinds of strong manipulation, because here it's your descendants who will be blessed, and that is in the Sefer Torah of Jews. So what kind of words which is being manipulated if we are listening? What kind of words which is being manipulated if we are hearing this story of Abraham? Even the whole word, the whole book, it's in harmony. There is nothing that you cannot touch or modify. So how can you Muslim say it in your Quran that there is falsified words? There is something which has changed there. What has been changed? Even there is a long words and which was in harmony. So what can you change? But let's carry on the words. Genesis, where have we left? Okay. So the blessing went to the blessing was in Isaac. So after then, it was said that blessing went to Jacob. So that all the blessing of nations went to Jacob. So let's take a look at the story of Jacob. Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. So Genesis 28 verse 10 to 11. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones here, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep because it's already night. And he had got a dream, and he saw the angel of God going up and down. So in the verse 13, God YAHVAH has shown to him. There above it stood YAHVAH, and he said, I am YAHVAH, the God of your father Abraham and God of Isaac. So how can you say that this is falsified? It is really well established, God of Abraham and God of Isaac. So it's the book of the Jews, you cannot touch it. So it is said, I'm going to give you Jacob this land. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out of the west and the east to the north and to the south. All the people on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. So here it's through your descendants that the all earth will be blessed. So here there is no mistakes in the words of Father YAHVAH, but it is really matched in harmony. And it is said that it is made for the descendants of Abraham, went to Isaac, went to Jacob. So here, this is the sign which is given to you. Let's read that sign. Okay? Remember that the descendants of Jacob, which is called Azrael also. Okay, let's read that. In Genesis chapter 32, verse 39. So here, where the name Azrael comes up. What? Where is that? Wait a moment, there is a mistake. When he found what a moment, we're looking for it. I must look for it because I have lost it. Genesis chapter 32, verse 29. Genesis chapter 32, verse 28-29. Then the man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but is Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. So God, the God of Abraham, has changed the name of Jacob into Azrael. So from then, Azraelites are called Azrael. So that is the children of Isaac, children of Jacob, children of Isaac, children of Abraham. So that descendants would be slaved in Egypt, according to the words of God. Okay, let's see where there is a passage saying that your descendants will be slaved during 400 years. Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. Genesis 15:13. So the descendants who will inherit will be enslaved with 400 years. So these are those who were enslaved in Egypt. Then YAHVAH said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be stranger in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Verse 14, but I will punish the nation they serve as slave, and afterward they will come out with great possession. So the descendants who will be chosen and who will bring the covenant for all humans, and it's about salvation of all humans. And the descendants who is going to be the heir of Abraham will be slaved in Egypt, where Father YAHVAH led them to be. And those descendants are the descendants in Isaac. Azrael and his offspring were enslaved in Egypt according to Genesis chapter 46, verse Genesis chapter 46. Okay. Genesis chapter 46 verse 1 to 7. So Azrael set out with all that was his, and when he reached the Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Azrael in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father, he said. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Then Jacob left the Beersheba, and Azrael's sons took their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the cart the Pharaoh had sent to transport him. So they went to Egypt, and they brought everything that they had in Egypt. Verse 6. So Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock and their possession they had acquired in Canaan. Jacob brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons, and his daughter and granddaughter, all his offspring. So everything that they had in Canaan, they brought it into Egypt. So it's obvious that Canaan belongs to them. So they were enslaved in Egypt. So you see, we went from Genesis 11 to 46. So the offspring to Jacob to Azrael proves the truth of the words of the God of Abraham. So which of them are falsified according to you? And you may say the Sefer Torah is being corrupted, and we don't need to listen to that anymore, and we have to listen to the new words in the Quran. You see, that is all wrong. However, when we dive into the story, the Arabs cannot get into this story because there is no blessing for Arabs in. Whether in the Quran, that doesn't exist, but they just force with this situation, and they were like, it's an ancient book, but now it's Quran. This is the new model. This doesn't work. That is to fight against the God of Abraham, and his name is YAHVAH, because that is his real name. We cannot say let's call him, but his real name is YAHVAH. Let's carry on the words. So they are the people who went to Egypt and they were enslaved there. Let's read the words of God about that. So the Azrael were suffered in Egypt. So in Exodus chapter 2, (23 to 24). So we must follow this story so that we know and we can see the mistake in the Quran, which despised and rejected the Sefer Torah of Jews, so that they can establish the prophet that they must follow. That is the reason. They were like, get this aside. This is the new book. Follow the new prophet. Don't listen to the previous one anymore. However, when we are listening to the story in the Torah, it's obvious that the descendants of Ishmael are being kicked out. There is nothing to do with Arabs. So in the Quran, it's a trap just to reject the Sefer Torah of Jews, which is the word of the God of Abraham, YAHVAH. So That is unaccepted. That's why Eliah come to bring the glory of beloved YAHVAH back. Yeah, the teaching is a bit long. I'm not going to cut it until the words ends, because you're already listening carefully, listening to its end. Exodus chapter 2 verse 23 to 24. Genesis 2 23-24. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. And God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. Now it keeps repeating the covenant in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there is nothing to do with Arabs. There is nothing to do with Ishmael, but that is just a made-up story, so that people don't follow the Sefer Torah of Jews, but will follow a fake God. And God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. And he remembered, this is the word that I have told to Abraham. So God has looked over them. So when it reaches more than 400, it's approximately 430 years. So the words was being fulfilled. Exodus chapter 12 from the verse 37. We're going to read it. Exodus chapter 12. Oh. Exodus chapter 12. Verse 37. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. Verse 40, where is it? Verse 40. Okay, let's read from here. Verse 40. Now the length of the time the Israelites people lived in Egypt was for 30 years. And at the end of the 430 years, they, to the very day of YAHVAH's division, left Egypt. So the 400 years was an approximative date. Maybe people will criticize that this is not precise. You cannot force God with time. But when he said 400 years, but he will not give you precision. Even one day for him is 1,000 years for humans. So how can you make precise time for that? So it's here. This is the people who were enslaved in Egypt, and God has brought them out of Egypt and brought them to the Canaan land. And the children of Israel get to the Canaan land as Joshua has led them there. Let's read that. Joshua chapter 11. Joshua 11:23. Joshua 11:23. That the children of Israel get to the Canaan land, and that is to tell you all who follow this teaching. There is nothing that you can deny with what Eliah has taught here. But the words of salvation was in harmony. The program of Father YAHVAH to save people in Israel. And devils wanted to manipulate in all way. But you devils cannot move anymore. Eliah has arrived. And this teaching cannot be gone against anymore. The truth must get back to the truth. And the salvation of the people, because everyone are to be saved. Arabs, English, Chinese, African. Eliah saved them all. Eliah saves. That's why Eliah brings back this word to save you. Okay, let's carry on. Joshua 11:23. So Joshua took entire land just as YAHVAH had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal division. Then the land had rest from war. So there was no war anymore, because Joshua has taken all the entire land, as Father YAHVAH said this is all your land. So when they seized the land, the words of Father YAHVAH has been fulfilled, and Ishmael cannot get included. There is no Ishmael who said, where is our part of land? No, there is no such thing. And until now we see that it's the land belongs to Israel. So what happens after? When the children of Israel, the mindless one, the fool one, did bad things again. I say fool because after seeing these things, they should not betray God. But they have betrayed God and they worship Baal. Okay, let's read the words of God. Now I would like to get back to the topic who was being sacrificed, because we have seen that the word is in Isaac and Jacob, and we're slaved in Egypt and we're brought back to Israel. So who is being sacrificed? And until now we can see that the land belongs to Israel. So who is being sacrificed in the Mount Moriah? Because it's the one who is being sacrificed there who possessed that word, and the one who were slaved who received that word. So the one, the descendants to be blessed are those who were slaved. So it's Isaac who is being sacrificed in the Mount Moriah. Genesis 22, Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. Genesis 22, 2. Then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac. So he is the only son. And go to the region of Moriah, sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mount I will show you. So that is what Muslims reject. So how can we reject that? But they just change it into Ishmael. If Ishmael was there, why they were not slaved in Egypt? And why the descendants of Ishmael were not slaved for 100 years? But there is no descendants of Ishmael, but they just pull it like they're the ancestor of Arabs. But Arabs, they're in the south. Ishmael is Egyptians. He is above there in Israel. So there is nothing to do in Arabs. So verse 16. So it's these descendants who receive. Okay, Genesis chapter 22, verse 16 and 17. We get back to this. And said, I swear by myself, declares YAHVAH, that because you have done this and have not protected your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand of the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. So, it's obvious the words is true. And the descendants of Abraham in Isaac, that there was the blessing. So, Isaac, it's in Isaac that all the words are fulfilled. So, it's Isaac who are being sacrificed. It's through the descendants of Isaac that all the nations are blessed. So if Ishmael died there, for example, it should be the descendants of Ishmael who should be slaved. But there is no children of Ishmael who were being enslaved. But it's the descendants of Jacob. So it's obvious that the one who was about to be sacrificed in Mount Moriah was Isaac. So Ishmael is rejected. Arabs are rejected. The Quran is fake, false. There is nothing true in that anymore with this truthness. So let's see that these they have worshipped idols. Oh, where was that? Because we know the story about the salvation for all people, YAHOSHUAH. It comes from this offspring. So YAHOSHUAH came out from that. We're going to talk about that next time, but let's get back to the story. Because when they get back to their land, it's obvious that YAHOSHUAH came from Israelites. So we know the story. He was born by Maria, and he brings the salvation for all the people around the world. Glory be to beloved YAHVAH. Glory be to YAHOSHUAH. But children of Israel sinned, and they end up by being scattered out of their hand. Because Father YAHVAH said, if you broke my law, I'm going to scatter you. Leviticus chapter 26, and also we're kind of ending the word. Verse 14, 15. Leviticus 26, 14, 15. But if you will not listen to me and carry out all these commands, and if you reject my decrees and abhor my law and fail to carry out my commands and so violate my covenant, then I will do this to you. I will bring on you sudden terror, wasting disease and fever and so on and so forth. Okay, let's read on verse 33. Okay, let's start from the 32. Okay, 31. If you don't obey my law, this is what I'm going to do to you. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 31 to 33. I will turn your cities into ruins and lay waste your sanctuaries, and I will take no delight in the pleasant aroma of your offering. I myself will lay waste the land, so your enemies who live there will be appalled. I will scatter you among the nations. I will draw out my sword and pursue you. Your land will be laid waste, and your cities will lie in ruins. So I'm going to make you lose against your enemies. So that is what Father YAHVAH said, because they have worshipped Baal. So Judge Judges chapter 2 verse 11 to 13. We're going to continue to 14 if it's okay. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of YAHVAH and served Baals. They forsook YAHVAH, the God of their ancestor, who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshipped various gods of the people around them. They aroused the anger of YAHVAH, because they forsook him and served Baal and Ashtoreth. In his anger against Israel, YAHVAH gave them into the hand of riders who plundered them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, whom they were no longer able to resist. So that's it. The children of Israel didn't win anymore, but they were destroyed. So the book of Leviticus chapter 26 were fulfilled according to the words of Father YAHVAH. I will destroy you. Okay, so the words is fulfilled. Let's continue the word so that you can see that it continues. So when later then we're going to continue. Nebuchadnezzar the king entered in stage. As it is said, I'm going to scatter you because of your sin. You have worshipped Baal and Ashtoreth. Let's read Jeremiah chapter 25 from the verse 1 to 7. Jeremiah chapter 25 verse 1 to 7. The word came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judea in the 4th year of Joachim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, which was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. So Jeremiah the prophet said to all the people of Judea and to all those living in Jerusalem, for 23 years, from the 13th year of Josiah, son of Ammon, king of Judea, until this very day, the word of YAHVAH has come to me, and I have spoken to you again and again, but you have not listened. And through YAHVAH has sent all his servant, the prophet, to you again and again. So Father YAHVAH has always sent prophet. So prophet brings the words of YAHVAH, and they are Israelites. You have not listened or paid any attention. They say, turn now each of you from your evil ways and your evil practices, and you can stay in the land YAHVAH gave to you and your ancestor forever and ever. Do not follow other gods to serve and worship them. Do not arouse my anger with what your hands have made, then I will not harm you. But you did not listen, declares YAHVAH, and you have aroused my anger with what your hands have made, and you have brought harm to yourself. Therefore, YAHVAH Almighty says this, because you have not listened to my words, I will summon all the people of the north, and my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, declares YAHVAH, and I will bring them against this land and its inhabitants, and against all the surrounding nations. I will completely destroy them and make them an object of horror and scorn and everlasting ruin. I will banish from them the sound of joy and gladness, the voice of bride and bridegroom, the sound of milestones, and the light of the lamp. This whole country will become a desolate wasteland, and this nation will serve the king of Babylon 70 years. That YAHVAH has beaten them. I'm going to make you captives. So that is accomplished in Jeremiah chapter 52. Let's read that. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 4 and 5. Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 4 and 5. So in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, on the 10th day of the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, marched against Jerusalem with his whole army. They encamped outside the city and built siege works all around it. The city was kept under siege until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. So we can see it's what happened next. Verse 12. 52, verse 12 to 14. On the 10th day of the 5th month, in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, commander of imperial guard, who served the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. Verse 13. He set fire to the temple of YAHVAH, the royal palace, and all the house of Jerusalem. Every important building he burned down. The whole Babylonian army, under the commander of imperial guard, broke down all the walls around Jerusalem. Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, carried into exile some of the poorest people and those who remained in the city, along with the rest of the craftsmen and those who had deserted the king of Babylon. So Babylonians have made children of Israel captives. So the words of the beloved YAHVAH has said, I'm going to make you escape. I'm going to make you captive. So the words of beloved YAHVAH cannot be gone against. So you who are listening, don't fight against him. YAHVAH is different. But Father YAHVAH remembered, because they were scattered, because from then Israel were attacked by people and they were destroyed again. But Father YAHVAH remembered his word to Abraham, and he has made declaration in Jeremiah, the prophet Israelite prophet. He said, "You who have scattered Israelites, gather them back to their land and protect them as a flock." So that has been fulfilled in 1822, and American and NATO protect them now. That is being fulfilled, and the words of prophet is again true. Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 10. Now the words of Father YAHVAH has repeated, I will always give their land. Hear the words of YAHVAH, you nations, proclaim it in distant coastlands. He who scattered Israel will gather them and will watch over his flock like shepherd. So whoever scattered Israel, gathered them. So these worlds have gathered them because of what happened to Israel. And now American is the chief, the leader who led the children of Israel back to their land through the League of Nations at the time. So it was in 1822, and they have got independence in May 14th. I don't remember the date. It was a long time ago. Okay, so later, as children of Israel have received independence, so they become country. So the words of Father YAHVAH is being fulfilled. The words is true. The declaration is true. So the words, the truthness of the words, is undeniable. So the Sefer Torah is true. Father YAHVAH kept his word, because Jeremiah the prophet, he was in 500 BCE. The words of Father YAHVAH is in 2000 BC, and it has applied in 500 BC, and it has really fulfilled in 1822. The Jews have gathered back into their land. So that is really fulfilled. Jeremiah 31:10. Who can fight against that YAHVAH? That YAHVAH has sent Elijah, so the truth is being brought back. All about him is being brought back. His glory and his truthness. You cannot stop his truthness. All humans must prostrate before that YAHVAH. He is the God. That is the truth. YAHVAH is his name. There is no one who can fight against him. You must get aside. Allah, get aside. You cannot get into that anymore. I give you the proof. When we are looking into the story, the children of Israel get back to their land. That is the words of the prophet, Israelite prophet. And it's the Israelite prophet that Moses has told. It's a prophet, Israelite like me, that you must listen. So the words of the prophet Jeremiah has been fulfilled. The children of Israel get back to their land. So who among you can say that the words of the prophet of Arabs or English or Chinese has authority? That has no authority. That has no authority, because it is said it's the words of the Israelite prophet, which has been accomplished from Abraham to Moses to Jeremiah, and it has been fulfilled in American and to the world, the whole world. So the question is, if the children of Israel get back to their land, and we have seen that. That is, I'm getting back to my previous explanation. If Allah is the same as YAHVAH, the Muslim and children of Israel should not fight against each other, because it is said you are going to inherit the land of Israel. So if Allah is same as YAHVAH, Palestinian Arabs or whoever around Israel should not fight against Israel. They should welcome them. But why do they fight each other? They're fighting each other because Muslim Arabs and Israelites cannot agree. Because Arabs say that the land belongs to them. As proof, they built mosques in Israel, Mosque of Omar, because they say that Ismail has been sacrificed and they built mosque. That is something that you cannot deny. And that's how you say that it's your land. Yeah, the Mount of Zion is the Mount of Moriah. So it's your mosque, which is the proof. And you insist that this Canaan land is yours. Israel is yours. And you don't accept them to dwell in. As proof, you built mosque. Why do you fight against Israel? If YAHVAH is equal Allah, you should not fight. You should applaud and welcome the honor of the word. But you fight against each other and you kill one another until now, and even you do some kamikaze. Arabs has done kamikaze. I'm telling you, stop that. Look at the truth. Be conscious now. As long as you kill Israelites and you cannot agree one another until now, the God of Abraham is really and completely different from Allah. And you cannot equal YAHVAH to Allah. You cannot mix Allah and YAHVAH. YAHVAH is really separated. And YAHVAH sent Elijah. He sent YAHOSHUAH, he sent YAHOSHUAH. And he is really different. YAHVAH is the true God. He keeps his word, and when he says all the Arabs are kicked out, the Arabs cannot move. Where is Allah who, because Allah, the God of Arabs, said Ishmael is the owner of the covenant. But how? Where is Ishmael who get Israel? Even Ishmael is not Arab. You forced him to be Arab, but he is not an Arab. He is not an Arab, but you forced him to be an Arab. The Muslims are Arab, but he is not an Arab. But he is Chaldean, he is Babylonian, and Babylonian is not an Arab, because in the time of Babylonian there is already Arabs. But Arabs are not Babylonian, and Babylonian are not Arab, but they are different. We are going to talk about that next time. Now we are still in the teaching. But here it is really clear that the God of Jews, Abraham, YAHVAH is his name, and he is really and completely different from the God of Arabs, whose name is Allah. And when they are different from one another, it's obvious Quran is no longer accepted, but it must be the Torah of Jews which brings the truth. The truth is for the Jews. The Quran is kicked out. The God of Muslim is kicked out and cannot touch this truth, because the prophet Jeremiah has justified the Jews has get back to their land, and now they are back. So the words of God of Abraham is been fulfilled. Glory be to him. The conclusion is Torah is the truth and Quran is false. Allah is not the God of Jews, but the God of Jews is YAHVAH, and he is the owner of the Sefer Torah of Jews, and you cannot enter into that. The rest are just scam. Last thing Moses said, because we have heard his word, only listen to Israelite prophet, including Jeremiah the prophet. His word is being fulfilled. Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 15. The prophet that you can listen is Israelite, and you cannot listen to other prophet but only Israelite, and it's only the Israelite prophet's words which are fulfilled and no more. And you cannot listen any other prophet but only Israelite, and it gets to YAHOSHUAH. It reaches to YAHOSHUAH, and YAHOSHUAH didn't change any words, but it is still in the same thing. It's only Israelite prophet that you must listen, and it's the words of YAHOSHUAH. He said clearly, if you accept the Israelite prophet, never sin anymore. So that is the words of that Israelite prophet. And if we are talking about Israelite prophet, the goal of the God of Abraham is to wash people away from their sins. It's not to make people sinners, but the plan of the God of Abraham is to make people someone who never sin anymore. So we're going to talk about that. What is the plan of the God with that Israelite prophet to be listened? But what the prophet Israelite brings, the conclusion is to bring people to become someone who never sin anymore, and they will never commit sin anymore. But Allah, the Quran and Allah hasn't never been able to do that. There is no one who followed the Quran who was in the right way. Everyone who follow Quran and Allah cannot go to the righteous way, because it is written in their book they cannot change people to the righteous. But the God of Abraham can make people someone who never sin anymore and the righteous. That is the real work of the God of Abraham. What I am teaching to you for all of you around the world. Note, mine is love. I want to save all of you humans, whether you are Arabs or English or African, whoever you are. The purpose of Elias is to save you. And if you don't want to be saved, wait for the consequences, because everything has its consequences. I have proved to you. Yeah, our next teaching is what is the word of the prophet and what is the goal of the prophet. Let me give the answer immediately, so that you become someone who never sin anymore, and you don't know how to commit sin anymore, and you will be with the God of Abraham. Really, truly. That is his goal, and that's why he sent YAHOSHUAH to save people. But Muslims reject YAHOSHUAH, but they accept something else, which means they keep what they want and they reject what they don't want. You cannot do that. The words he gave is the truth. But it's you who don't know how to go along that. And that's why you say that it's wrong. And all the words are true. And the honor of the words has arrived. And Eliah brings the glory of the honor of the words. YAHVAH is his name. And the truthfulness of his words must be brought back to him. And everyone must prostrate before him. All the gods must flee before him, because the honor of the authority and the burning fire has arrived. YAHVAH is his name. And he sent his son, Eliah, that is his name. Yes, I am his son. Who do you want me to be? When he is the creator, and as he is the creator, he gave birth. And now he sent his servant, bringing the truth. And those who follow Eliah never sin anymore. If you want that, follow us. If you don't want, wait for your consequence. And don't criticize these words anymore, because this is not yours. It's not you who are not the honor, who will criticize the honor of the word. But this belongs to Israelites, and we are the honor of the word, because we are already living being someone who don't know how to sin anymore. And when we don't know how to sin anymore, that is the truth. Okay, that is it. YAHOSHUAH bless you. The explanation was really clear, that what the Quran has done is scam, because they took the words in the Quran, but the rest they destroyed. That is not good. But in the Torah, there is no mistake. There is no single mistake. And Eliah confirms that till the end. And we have proof to justify these words. Those who follow us never sin anymore. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, because that is the goal of that God. As long as it's a God who make you sinners, it's a fake one, so get out of there. You will be lost in hell. You are deceived there. So those who make you sinners, they are fake. They cannot wash you away from your sin. They are fake. But the true one is the one who can make you someone who never sin anymore. And that is the truth. And he has the authority and the power. Glory be to the Almighty. YAHVAH is his name. Okay. YAHOSHUAH bless you. I hope that you have received the words. The last conclusion is the Quran is false. The Torah is the true one. That's it. And Allah will never be equal to YAHVAH. Allah is the God of Arabs, and there is nothing to do with Jews. So YAHVAH is the God of the Jews. Abraham, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. It's a God of Jews, not the God of Arabs. And now they are fighting each other because the Jews get back to their land, and now they are fighting until now. So Allah is not the God of Jews, and YAHVAH is not the God of Arabs. But YAHVAH is the God of Jews, and Allah is the God of Arabs. YAHVAH has the Sefer Torah, but Allah has the Quran. They cannot get along. It's a foolishness and stupidity for those who get them along, but they have their own. But once you get to the Sefer Torah, we must enter in stage, because that belongs to our dad, so we will never accept that. And the goal of that Sefer Torah, the purpose he sent all the prophet, is to make people someone who never sin anymore, and that is being fulfilled. Glory be to the Almighty. That is all about love. We arrive to bring love, but if you don't want to receive the love, the disaster will come to hit you. It's already here. That's why we are I'm saving you. Come to beloved YAHVAH. Come to the true God of Abraham. YAHVAH is his name, not Allah. YAHVAH never gets along with Allah. That is all lies. YAHVAH is really different, and even he fight against Allah. However, Allah cannot fight against him until now, because his word is now being accomplished now until now. That's why come to YAHVAH. He is the true God, and follow YAHOSHUAH. He sent because he is the Savior. Let's pray together. Thank you very much, beloved YAHVAH. Glory be to you forever. I have brought the proofs, and I have brought the truth. There is no words which can go against your truthness. And it's the responsibility of Eliah to explain to people around the world about the goodness of your word, because everything that you have said and you have written in your Sefer Torah are true, and that cannot be shaken, because that has been fulfilled until now. That those who are selected to go to the eternal life, let them hear and listen and see this teaching and these words of Eliah. Glory be to you, beloved YAHVAH. respond to my prayer, respond to my call every day. You will protect the words and the teaching and the declaration. In your name, Yahushua, that I make all the prayer. Hallelujah. Amen. So that is our meeting for today. Yahushua bless all of you. See you on the next teaching. Goodbye.